There's a process happening all around us, right now, every single second of the day. It's this silent, completely invisible engine that powers, well, pretty much all life on Earth. We're talking everything from a tiny blade of grass to the most massive tree. It's called photosynthesis, and today we're going to crack open its secret recipe. To really wrap our heads around this, let's imagine photosynthesis is a person, an ancient, invisible chef who's been cooking for billions of years. And this chef, they have one single, absolutely perfect recipe that turns the most basic stuff you can imagine into the very building blocks of life itself. So the big question is, what's on the menu? And what are these secret ingredients that this ancient chef is using to literally fuel an entire planet? Well, to find out, we've got to peel back the layers and step inside the kitchen. So first up, let's meet the world's secret chef. And to really understand the process, we have to start with the shopping list. And honestly, you might be surprised by just how simple the ingredients are for a recipe that supports all of us. And here they are. It's just 3 things. The plant takes a drink of water, usually up through its roots. It takes a breath of carbon dioxide from the air around us. And then, the most important ingredient, the one that kicks the whole thing off, a splash of sunshine. That's it. Water, air, and light. All right, section 2, inside the plant's kitchen. So where does all this amazing stuff actually happen? To see that, we need to zoom in, way in. We're about to go from the scale of a huge forest all the way down to a level you can't even see with the naked eye. The main kitchen, you could say, or at least the gathering place for all our ingredients, is the leaf. And that broad, flat surface? That's no accident. It's perfectly designed to soak up as much of that crucial sunlight as possible. But we have to go deeper, because inside every single one of those leaves are millions and millions of tiny plant cells, and each one is like its own little self-contained workshop. And inside those cells, we find these incredible little structures. This is a chloroplast, and this is the real kitchen. This is the tiny green factory where that secret recipe really, truly comes to life. So what is a chloroplast, really? Well, just think of it as a super specialized part of the cell that has one mission and one mission only: to run the photosynthesis show. It's built from the ground up to do 2 things: make food and store energy. Now, what actually makes these chloroplasts green? Well, it's a pigment called chlorophyll, and the best way to think about chlorophyll is to picture it as the plant's own tiny solar panel. It's the molecule that physically grabs the energy from sunlight. It's also the reason we see plants as green, because that's the color of light chlorophyll reflects, not the color it absorbs. Okay, so we found the kitchen, and we've met the head chef, Chlorophyll. Now the big question is, how is the meal actually prepared? Well, it turns out it's a 2-part cooking show. The first part is where all the action starts, capturing sunshine. This stage is all about the photo part of photosynthesis. It's called the light-dependent reaction, and as you probably guessed from the name, it absolutely 100% cannot happen without sunlight. All right, let's break down how this works. First, a photon of light zaps a chlorophyll molecule, giving it this huge jolt of energy. That energy is then used to do something pretty incredible. It splits a water molecule apart. And get this is where the oxygen we breathe comes from. It's actually just a waste product for the plant. Wild, right? But most importantly, the sun's energy gets captured and stored in 2 special molecules, which are basically tiny rechargeable batteries. Let's call them ATP and NADPH. Let's just zoom in on one of those batteries for a sec. ATP. This molecule is basically the universal energy currency for all of life. Seriously. Think of it as a tiny rechargeable battery. And in this first stage of photosynthesis, the sun's energy is used to charge up millions of these ATP batteries, getting them all juiced up to power the next stage of the recipe. And now for the second act, cooking with carbon. This is the synthesis part of photosynthesis. It's called the light-independent reaction, or sometimes the Calvin cycle. Now, a key thing here, it doesn't need light directly, but it absolutely depends on the energy that was stored in those charged-up batteries, that ATP and NADPH, from stage 1. So, what's the whole point of this stage? It's to build the food. The cell basically cashes in the energy from those ATP and NDPH batteries. It uses that power to pull carbon atoms out of the carbon dioxide from the air, and then it uses that carbon to build a simple little sugar. And finally, 2 of these simple sugars combine to make 1 molecule of glucose. And that's it. The final product on the menu. This table really pulls it all together perfectly. Look, on the left, you've got the light reactions. They use sunlight and water to make oxygen and charge up those energy carriers. Then, on the right, the light-independent reactions use that energy plus carbon dioxide to make glucose. And here's the really cool part. Notice how the used-up carriers are sent right back to the first stage to get recharged? It's a beautiful, perfectly efficient cycle. All right, we have been deep in the microscopic world of the chloroplast. Now it's time to zoom all the way back out and see why this one single chemical recipe is arguably the most important reaction on the entire planet. So, if we were to write out the one master recipe for this entire process, this is where we'd start. The main ingredients: 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. And then, powered by the energy from sunlight, our invisible chef creates 1 molecule of sugar, that's glucose, and 6 molecules of oxygen. This simple, elegant, balanced equation right here, it's the chemical summary for pretty much all the food and all the breathable air on Earth. This little drawing just says it all, doesn't it? The sun's energy, water, and CO2, they all go in. And what comes out? Sugar and oxygen. And that sugar, that glucose, becomes the energy base for everything. The plant uses it to grow, then an animal eats the plant, then another animal eats that animal. The energy just gets transferred up the food chain, and it all started right here. But here's where the story gets truly elegant. I mean, just look at these 2 equations. On the left, that's photosynthesis. On the right, that's cellular respiration. That's the process we animals use to get energy from our food. Do you see it? They are the exact reverse of each other. A perfect mirror image. And what that reveals is life's perfect partnership. Plants take our waste product, carbon dioxide, and they combine it with water and sunlight to create the very food and oxygen that we need to survive. It's a closed loop. The products of one process are the exact ingredients for the other. It is the ultimate recycling system. So in the end, photosynthesis isn't just some reaction in a biology textbook. It's a solar-powered factory that has completely reshaped our planet, and it sustains us every single day. And that really leaves us with a final thought. If plants perfected this clean, efficient, solar-powered energy system billions of years ago, what can we learn from their recipe to create a more sustainable future for ourselves?